Wakarau! Wakarau! Keramusnauli! Obalana mate! Utawanau! Yalandai! Taukuadirare! Pai! Dio! Roga Libra! Semua semuanya! Kutinara Mekuna! Tiga mata Mekuna! Nusaka Mekuna!
Good evening and welcome to this tribute to Captain Jonathan Smith, sailor, advocate, environmentalist, weather expert, community leader, husband and father. It's fitting perhaps that we gather today on what would have been Skipper's birthday to celebrate the life he lived, ponder over the legacy he left behind, and prepare to take up the challenge he laid down for every Fijian and Pacific Islander. With the UNYted Trust and the voyaging societies of our Pacific neighbors, we gather on Facebook, on YouTube, and through UNYTV to pay tribute to a leader, to a colleague, and to a friend. Please feel free during this tribute to leave comments on our Facebook or YouTube pages. Before we proceed, may I call upon Reverend James Bagwan, the chaplain of the UNYted Trust, to offer a word of prayer.
Thank you, Netani, and Bulavinaka, and greetings to our sisters and brothers across our Pacific Blue liquid continent. I will begin our lotu today by sharing with you the Mariner's version of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my pilot, I shall not drift. He leadeth me across the dark waters and steereth me in deep channels. He keepeth my log and guided me by the star of holiness for his name's sake. Yea, though I sail amidst the thunders and tempests of life, I shall dread no danger, for thou art with me. Thy love and thy care, they shelter me. Thou preparest a safe harbor before me in the homeland of eternity. Thou anointest my waves with oil, and my canoe rideth calmly. Surely sunlight and starlight shall favor me all the days of my voyaging, and I will rest in the port of my Lord forever. Mendamasu, let us pray. The seas have lifted up, Lord. The seas have lifted up their voice. The seas have lifted up their pounding waves, mightier than the thunder of the great waters, mightier than the breakers of the sea. The Lord on high, you are mighty. We gather tonight, O God, to give thanks for Jonathan's life on what would have been his 48th birthday. And while we mourn and seek comfort from you, Heavenly Father, we celebrate his life, our love and friendship, and we gather to reflect on the lessons we learned and the legacy he leaves behind for us to continue. We pray, O Lord, for the participants in tonight's program, for clarity of thought and speech, for those working in the background, and for us who will be watching tonight and in the days to come, to listen and reflect with open minds and hearts. Bring healing, our loving and embracing God. Bring healing and closure for those yearning for it. Bring inspiration and wisdom to those in search of it. And bring us closer as a community of voyagers, a family bound by love, common visions of a healthy and thriving ocean, of traditional voyaging and wayfinding. We pray for all who work at sea. We remember all that these face in their difficulties and the dangers on the ocean. We give thanks for their knowledge of the sea, their courage on putting out into the deep, their patience and their skill. Keep them alert and wise in their duties, O Lord. Make them faithful in the time of routine and prompt to decide and courageous to act in any time of crisis. Protect them in the dangers and perils of the sea, and even in the storm, grant that there may be peace and calm within their hearts. When they are far from home and far from loved ones and far from the country that they know, help them to be quite sure that wherever they are, they can never drift beyond your love and your care. Take care of their loved ones in the days and weeks and months when they are separated from them, sometimes with half the world between them. God, our Creator, as we reflect on the mysteries of the ocean depths, we celebrate the wondrous design of the seas that surround us. Help us to discern how we have polluted our oceans and to empathize with the groaning of creation beneath us. Teach us to sense the presence of God in the tides and currents of the surging seas. Teach us to care for the oceans and all our waterways. We pray this in the name of the wisdom of God, the creating force that designs and governs all creation. Amen. Naka.
It is a tradition on the Utunialo to begin and end each voyage with a prayer. And so we begin this evening's voyage with a prayer. And this will be followed by a contribution from the women who continue to be a driving force in all aspects of Pacific voyaging. And that will be in the Butalanaua segment. We will watch a video tribute from the Pacific Voyaging Societies before listening to a panel discussion on Skipper's life, legacy, and vision. That will be followed by a crew tribute and then a musical memorial to be performed by Liliata Sokai. After a short video from Skipper's family, we will close tonight's session as we started, with prayer. So now let us move to the Butalanaua video and the following discussion, which will be moderated by Alisi Rambukawanga Nadewa.
Nyambulare, Arnayandra, Dolovina, Bula, and welcome to this segment of our Talanoa tonight. Butalanawa means breaking waves, and Talanoa tonight, at least for this segment, we'll talk about breaking waves and breaking barriers. And we will listen to 4 incredible Fijian women share their journey and experiences, not only as strong, independent women who have had incredible achievements, but also collectively as part of one of the most daring expeditions of this generation, Temana or Temoana. Temana or Temoana, which means the spirit of the ocean, is a fleet of 7 double-hulled voyaging canoes that sailed across the Pacific to renew ties to the sea and its life-sustaining strength, while embracing and preserving the art of ocean voyaging by celestial navigation. The canoes in this historical journey are Fafaite from Tahiti, Ngawalofa, Samoa, Haunui and Hinemoana, representing the Pan-Pacific, Marumaru Atua, Cook Islands, Tematawa Maui of Aotearoa, and Utanialo of Fiji. Tonight, we will hear from Salome Tambuatale, Loma Mataika, Unaisi Wanganivere, and Letila Mitchell on their experiences of being part of Mama Uto's maiden voyage. Mama Uto was captained by the late Captain Jonathan Smith, whose life we are also remembering and celebrating today. Happy birthday in heaven, Skipper. So when we think of breaking barriers and making waves, we don't have to look much further than Salome Tambuatale. She has had an accomplished professional career, 7 Pacific Games spanning over 24 years in competitive sports, raising her family and being one of the first female Melanesian indigenous Fijian traditional canoe voyagers of our time. Her amazing career has shown that she is not one to shy away from a challenge nor easily intimidated. Someone strong, fearless, even venturing into areas traditionally perceived to be male only. And as a start, I would like now Salome to take us back to that maiden voyage. Now, due to technical issues, she has had to pre-record her session. However, it does not take away from the beauty and manner of the story she will share now with us all. Pinaka.
God Almighty, that allow us to be here again tonight and to share our experience about the past voyage. The reason that we embarked on this journey, the Utonialo, was to revive the traditional way of traveling that was used by our forefathers. The stars at night and the wind and the sail during the day. Secondly, was having means of transportation that was environmental friendly, meaning nowadays we have ships, the noise pollution, the oil spillage that are very harmful to sea creatures. And thirdly, is to try to know how long that it took our forefathers to travel from one destination to another. The perception of this voyage, for me personally, I was excited and at the same time scared. Excited because it's the first time I travel in the Vaka, visiting neighbor Pacific Island, and scared traveling in traditional without technical equipment that will forecast the weather. In saying this, because when we left New Zealand on our way to Raiva Bay, we came across hurricane in the sea. We were like, all the new sailors we were frightened. We were scared because high waves, strong wind, and the whole deck was wet. And it's the first time we experienced going out traveling the sea without an engine on the vaca. We were just using the sail. And we came across the hurricane. And looking at Skipper and Colin, they were like, cool, nothing. For them, that nothing happened at all. Maybe they don't want us to know that we were like in the mid of the storm. And we were like scared. And that was the reason why mentioning that I was scared during the voyage. But otherwise, it was enjoyable. So resilience and setting boundaries. I am a child of God. I believe with God beside me, I'm able to overcome any situation that I was going to face during the voyage. As a woman, first, I'm a wife. Second, I'm a mama. With these two qualities, I was able to treat the crew members with respect and the respect that I have for my family. This was how I was able to set boundaries as a woman. The gender balance is very important because it creates a sense of family, togetherness, organized living during the journey when we go to our destination. Women traveling, they are able to assist in the kitchen, helping in cooking, and also assist in delegating duties in the vaca. Renata.
Nakbakalevuna Salome for that powerful message you've shared with us on the importance of spirituality and setting boundaries when embarking on this journey, particularly as women in this field. And now I would like to introduce Loma Mataika. Loma is now an architect, again, accomplished in what is normally a male-dominated field. And for you, Loma, I just wanted to take us back to 2010, young, youthful, ready to conquer the world, words and actions hand in hand, carrying this powerful message that Nasalam had shared about renewing ties with our oceans on board a traditional double-hulled canoe. And I would like you to share with us, how has Loma now, professionally and personally, been influenced by the experiences of Loma then? Loma, I think you're on mute. If you could just unmute.
My apologies. Thank you, Alicia. Sorry, guys. Thank you. Has Aloma now been impacted? I think greatly. It has greatly influenced my study and I guess my person. The sale for me was perfect. It was the perfect opportunity to grow, like to study or learn how to sail like our ancestors did by the stars, and just be one with nature, not necessarily at the mercy of nature, but understanding nature and being with nature was very attractive to me. It to me, I thought it would influence my humanity and my work. And it was one side of the coin, and the other perfect one was raising awareness on the effects of climate change with local communities across the Pacific. Because back in 2010, there was no avenue for you to express your concern for climate change. Yes, it depressed you, and it impacted you as a young person, but there's no avenues like we do today. You can donate money, join marches, protest or sign petitions. But back then, Facebook was just new, social media was just starting. There's no avenue. So when Colin Phillip mentioned that to me, I was sold. And like for me, I realized that these were opportunities for me to learn what it was to be a person, like how I related to myself, how I would relate to everyone else as a woman, and then how to be an Itauke person, knowing my heritage and culture. And that was just like exciting. It's influenced a lot of my my life, I guess, because it's given me this insane optimism in how life can pan out. Like, I lived in Japan for 3 years in the previous, just recently, and I always got lost in this massive culture, like clash of culture and then language barriers. And this is what I encountered too during the voyage. And I always had this sense that I'm not lost. I'm still in Japan and I'm still on Earth, So I think that whole voyage and just experiencing the voyage, the sail with Nasalome, Una, Skipper, and Colin and the rest of the boys, it was a really enriching experience. Yeah. I think that's a blindly. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did good. And also, we only have, 30 minutes to try and share some of our experiences. So it's obviously not enough time. And, we had also talked about other things you'd mentioned around the similarities of cultures and practices in Fiji and in Japan, and how, despite the vast difference, it still made you feel connected. And that this journey on the Utunialo was part of what kept that grounded connection, across cultures, across the ocean. But one thing I wanted to draw on from what you just shared, and then to sort of take it to Una Isiwanganvere, is what you'd mentioned about back in 2010, there really wasn't an avenue to advocate on climate change, and social media was just starting to kick off here in Fiji. And now, let me just take a step back. Now, Una Isiwanganvere is an environmental health and safety expert, an advocate of our environment, and a mom. And nowadays, it would make complete sense as someone on your career trajectory to also have been or try to have been part of a traditional voyage and advocacy promoting ocean protection and sustainability. But like Loma said, back in 2010, it wasn't really a thing. And what I sort of want to bring into the conversation for you is we always have this saying, that Mama Uto chooses her crew, the Vaka chooses her crew. And what I would sort of like try to get from you is what led you there and what ultimately made you decide to be part of this voyage. Again, Mama Uto chooses her crew, but I'd like to hear from you. What made you open yourself up to being a part of this? And yeah, over to you, Una.
At that time, I just recently graduated from university, and I was doing a 3 months internship with conservation NGOs. I have a background, environment background from school, so I think the 3 months internship term was almost up. So Moala, one of the crew member, used to work with my boss. So I think one day they were discussing, and Moala told her about this voyage, the Butalanaua voyage, and he told her that they were looking for women as crew. And because my internship was almost up and I didn't have any permanent job, so I said, why not? This would be the perfect time for me to travel, because I've never traveled outside of the country before. So I said yes. So I joined the team with all the preparations, and because of my environment background, and with the purpose of the voyage was to revive traditional sailing skills and promoting sustainable sailing method and protecting the ocean, it's just befit the whole purpose for me joining, and just to carry the message across the Pacific. I remember while we were preparing for the Butalanaua voyage, we used to do presentations to the NGOs, especially along Maafu Street. So when we left for the voyage, Monifa from WWF gave us a kit to do recording through the voyage. So recording of whale sighting, dolphins, turtles, seabirds, and I was very lucky because Skipper was very, very, very helpful. He was like the walking species identification book on board. He used to teach me all this. Oh, this is this type of whales and everything. So it was very good for me. And with me saying yes to join, I didn't really have an idea what it's going to be like, in the voyage. I didn't have any sailing experience before. So, and being a woman on a waka with 14 men around you, it was very challenging at first. But I was really grateful that Salome was with me all the way, like being, the super mom and an athlete, like she really knows what she's doing. So she really taught me how to handle things on board, especially with bathing with bucket and salt water. At first, I was really, really nervous. Like, it was difficult for me to just bath out in the open like that. But with Salome there, like she really, just encouraged me and taught me through. So as we went along through the voyage, it became very easy for me just to just to go out and bath anytime I want. Yeah, I guess with the experience I did, being away from my family for the first time for a very long time, 3 months was a very long time for me. It also helped me, build up my confidence just to be with myself. And I'm very lucky that the crew was there. Like, we're all just one family. And I remember the following year, I had a 7 months. I was accepted for a 7 months program in the U.S. So I had to travel by myself to the U.S. and exposed to new people and new culture. So with the voyage from the Otonialo, it really helped me to be confident with myself. And I guess, with all the trials and tribulations on the voyage, we all came out as champion, like, and proving to the world that, sailing on a drua, it's possible. If our forefathers can do it, we can also do it. Naka.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Una. And a lot of that really resonated with me as well, especially having the support of other strong women in the crew as we came on, I joined Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon's leg of the journey, and how you are also dedicated, part of being able to get through it to Salome. I'm also thankful that I had strong women like even Nancy and Agnes and Philo who were there to help with the ropes and things like bathing in salt water out in the open, right? But with that, I'd like to thank you all. And it's never enough time to really share these experiences. And I probably plug in at this point that the Vutalno sessions with our ladies will continue on a segment on its own down the line. So for those who are tuning in, I'd like to encourage you to follow the Utunialo Trust page and follow our ladies so that you can get notifications of when those sessions will come. But now I would like to introduce us to one of the main people behind the scenes. Now, recognizing all the amazing experiences we've all shared, this really wouldn't have been possible without all the hard yards and foundation setting a year prior to the sale, the boardroom meetings, the negotiations, the paperwork, all the big and small logistical arrangements. And you, Letila Mitchell, you were right there in the thick of it all. And the team is not just about the crew on the Vaka. The team also extends to those on land moving the cause forward. And for our Talanoa on breaking barriers, you are also breaking barriers on land with the inception of the Fiji Voyaging Society, now known as the Utunialo Trust. Perhaps you can tell us about your vision and how you got involved and helped unite then. And for you, why was it important to create the Utunialo Trust and a Voyaging Society for Fiji?
Bula Alisi, thank you. So good to be here to celebrate our amazing skipper's life. I think for me, it all began in 2008 at the Festival of Pacific Arts in Pagopago. So Tene and his friend Dieter spoke with Colin and I about this vision of bringing to life these 7 vakas. And so it was definitely a space of breaking barriers, because for so many of the original conversations, I was the only woman in the space with, master navigators and voyagers from around the region. But what it showed was, if our people come together, our Pacific people come together with a common cause, we have so much power. And at that time, like Loma was saying, there was not a lot of avenues for us as Pacific people to advocate for climate change, to advocate for protecting our oceans. And so at that time, our vision was the long Te Mana o Te Moana sail, the ocean against ocean noise, because a lot of the beaching of whales was quite significant at that time. And so for us, we wanted to find a Pacific way of advocating to the world what, the needs were for our Pacific Ocean. So that was where the vision began. And we knew as Pacific people, if we came together on our vakas, one, that the vakas would unite our people in a cause, and two, that as we sailed from island to island, it would reconnect a lot of our indigenous people, which is, so many of us had been divided for years through colonization. And so the vakas were a way to reconnect, to reinstill the power and the spirit in the Pacific. So that's where the vision came from. And so we began that in 2008, and then as we developed the project, then each of the countries that came together set up their own voyaging societies. So Colin and I, Skipper, Manoa, Mere Ratunambumbua. There were so many of us right at the beginning that then came together and set it up. And Una and I were the ones doing all the paperwork and running around, so but for us it was such an important initiative to become a part of, because we knew that it was never going to be just one event or one project or one sale. We knew that the impact that it would make across the Pacific and across the world would be massive. I mean, whoever thought that you would see 7 vakas under the Golden Gate Bridge? Like, those moments were so significant worldwide. And I think it really highlighted a lot of what the Pacific wanted to talk about. And then since then, you've seen a lot of Pacific people taking the leadership roles in the environmental conservation space. And it's definitely where it all began. And then, people like Taholo, Kami, and Faye Tevi, a lot of them started to come into the conversation with the Voyagers. And yeah, it just exploded, this incredible passion. So yeah, so for me, doing all the paperwork in the background was nothing compared to what everyone was doing on the water, the trials and challenges. So yeah, it was an honor for me to do this work.
Thank you so much for those insights, Letila. And it's been so beautiful and enriching to hear that even through this first round of conversation, Skipper has been a part of all your journeys as well. In that initial voyage, in helping with all the other scientific research and all the background and the paperwork and the actual sail itself. And for this second round, and just noting our time, I wanted to ask you all again to share a tribute about Skipper, something significant. And what I had asked, when we had talked prior, was if you could just share a word, maybe in English, in Fijian, or another language, of a word that really describes what Skipper is like, and probably just expand on that a little bit. And I would like to ask that first we start with Loma, and then Una, and then Letila, and then we will wrap this up with another video from Nausalome on her tribute as well to Skipper this evening.
I think the one word that I would say I'd be inspired, that Skipper's inspired me by, I think it'd be humility. Skipper had the ability to relate to everybody, teach complex things in the most simplest way, as well as encourage you and pull you out of the dumps, to empower you to feel strong enough to be able to take that uli and steer your crew. He empowered each and every crew, especially us as women. He was very kind, very humble. It's a huge loss for Fiji, and my heart goes out to his family, Mavis and the kids. We love you guys, and thank you for sharing Skipper with us.
Thank you so much, Lama. Yes, that is such a beautiful word to remember Skipper by. And, our Talanoas on virtual platforms would never be complete without connectivity issues. And I understand Una is dropping in and out. So I would like to ask Letila to please share a little tribute for Skipper.
Vinakalisi. I think for me, he always amazed me with his courage, and for me, he was a warrior, an ocean warrior. And now he's such a great loss for us, but now he's a sky warrior. So he joins the stars in the sky, and he's there still leading the way for us. And so when we look up to the skies, we know that he will be there showing us the way. And it's not easy to jump into something without anything tangible. So when we came to him with this vision about the vakas, no one could imagine that it could be done, but the fact that he had the courage and the vision to just say, yes, let's do it. We can do it. And, I think that for me will always sit with me, working with people who just had such courage to realize a vision, a huge vision. And we'll always remember him, and he will always be in our lives and present in our hearts. So big thank you to his beautiful family, to Mavis and the kids for gifting him to us. But he's always here with us. So yeah, that's from me. Vinaka.
Nakaletila. And now I'd like to invite Una.
Yeah, I think for me, with Skipper, one thing I did admire about Skipper was his passion for the environment. I've said this before. I've always followed him on his social media, on his Facebook page. Whenever he sees something happening, like he would post it up. He's always fearless. Like he's a very courageous guy. And I think that what really made me inspired me for him just to be bold and voice out all the issues he sees, and being a voice for the voiceless people out there who doesn't have the platform to raise awareness, into our communities. Naka.
Nakavakalevu with us tonight. And for all our viewers tuning in, again, these were the amazing women who were part of that first sail on the Uta, that first international voyage that really paved the way for the rest of us to be able to also come in and join and be a part of this amazing family, this amazing crew. And unfortunately, due to time constraints, we aren't able to play the video from Now Salome on her tribute, but it will be available on the page. And at this point, I'd also like to make a small tribute to Skipper, to thank him for allowing us to come and be a part of this, for his manner and his strength to let us also be able to advocate not only as people who knew about the issues, but were also able to go out and take action on it. And that was an important piece for me. And to Mavis and the kids, thank you all so much, because for every week and month he was with us, it meant he was away from you all. And again, I'd like to thank you as well for sharing him with us. And at this point, I'd just like to probably invite all of our ladies back on to just say goodbye to all our viewers. And then I will hand it back to Netani for the second part of the program. Nakavakalepu. Mother.
Nakawakalevu Alisi. Letila, Loma, Salame, and Una for those reflections, meaningful and deeply moving at times. We thank all our viewers for the comments on Facebook and YouTube pages. We thank MyTV for the support in this tribute and the video presentation earlier this evening. Please feel free during this tribute to leave comments, messages, or your own tributes on our Facebook and YouTube pages. We remember that just before leaving us for his journey home, Skipper spoke passionately in a webinar on the role of women in voyaging. He spoke about equity and justice for women at sea. No one was to know that he would not be here just a month later. Tonight, we look back fondly on that night and we take a short video journey with the Pacific Voyaging Society in tribute to Jonathan Smith, or as we knew him, Skipper.
Jonathan Smith, Folawa, o ku ato ai popoaki, pa mamahi ko hinga ki he whikau ngā mamahi ki he Hoa pia mo whanau ko hinga ko e tau whakoto mo loto whale. Pia o kuatua ia e pōpoaki. Whika o ngā mamahi pia mea te au. Ka pehe whoki ki he tonga Voyaging Society pia me I baba. Ka pehe whoki pia mo ka ukulu kotoa me I tonga. And rest easy, Brother Jonathan. So you will never be forgotten in our hearts and in our minds. The only one things I want to remember you is the whales. Even you are not here in person with us, but what will be remind me of you, the first whales, baby whales I will swim with today is I will name after you. And that's how Wales was connecting us before the voyage. There is a lot of great memories. People shared from all over the world. But the only one thing that I will think of you is the Wales. So that's, I know you will be around every year in the whole season, in the whale season here in Tonga. Ko ofalahi at ka koe, Jonathan. Fair wind, sailors and brother, captain, my hero, ocean's hero, marine activist, ofalahi ato.
Now, on a lighter note, Jonathan's one real cheeky bugger. I got married in 2016, so after the wedding, my wife and I, we were going through all the gifts and the cards, and I'll be honest to say that Jonathan's really stood out, even my wife agrees. Because of all the congratulations and, all the well wishes and whatnot, this cheeky bugger going to send one with sympathies or one condolence card for the funeral. So when we saw it, we were like, where did this come from? We opened it up for sure. Jonathan Smith and family welcome me to married life. I get the joke now. How are you, brother?
Hey, Malale. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share a little bit about Skipper and about how Jonathan made an impact in our lives and also made an impact in the journey that we have and the work that we're doing. Just to say that it is indeed a significant loss that's felt not only in Fiji but around the Pacific, that we have lost a pioneer and a warrior of for the Pacific Ocean, master navigator, skipper, all around, just a good guy to be with and straight up, honest and frank in his words. One lasting memory of Jonathan was the Talano Tuesday that we had together, that we worked together on about the Suva Harbor. And if there's one legacy that he has brought to us, was that he was so passionate about this harbor that he wanted to clean it out and he wanted to make sure that it was clean for the future generations. And so perhaps that's something that we can wrap our minds around and make that as a lasting memory of how Skipper Jonathan Smith influenced our lives. We revolve around the ocean. His life revolved around the ocean. His life revolved around the Kava Bowl. And I'm honored to have been one part of his life, which was around the cover bowl and a little bit around the ocean. So to the family, to Tristan, and to your mother and your siblings, may his legacy live on through you and through the work that you do and the lives that you have. And may he rest in peace and rise in glory. Whakatau te vi nukualofa. Malawita.
Bula to all our friends in Fiji, here from Hokianga Harbour. As the sun sets on the other side of the sand dunes of this harbour, it's and the birds fly across and head out to the entrance of the harbour. We're sitting in the place where our ancestor Kupe left to go back to Hawaii. And Jonathan, you're heading back to Hawaii now with the spirits of all our ancestors. So here's a few words from Stan over here. He's with me.
Kia ora whānau, kia ora bula. Just giving our aroha and wishes and all our love to you fellas over there in the loss of your great person of Jonathan. Yeah, all our love goes to you fellas, and yeah, just want to say kia ora and all of you whānau.
And Stan's going to hold it for me. And on behalf of all of us, Stan, me, Jacko, all our crews, Haunui, Te Mataua Maui, Hine Moana, Te Aurere, and Ngāhi Raka, we just want to send all our love to all of you, our family in Fiji. We think about you during this time of great sorrow. We send our love and our sympathy, and remember a great man and a great captain.
Thank you again to our Pacific brothers and sisters who are such a large part of Skipper's life. For Skipper, work was work and play was great fun for everyone, as reflected in those messages from the Pacific. One word perhaps to describe him was passionate. Passionate about the environment, about Suva Harbour, and about saving undersized marine life. Tonight, to discuss his legacy, we welcome Colin Philp, Teddy Fong, Stanley Simpson to discuss Skipper's life, vision, and legacy. Each of these gentlemen has had special insight into who Jonathan Smith was and what he has left behind for us to achieve, hopefully. I start with Colin to speak a bit about the legacy of Jonathan Smith.
Naka Netani. Yeah, the legacy he's left behind. He's left a real, I guess, a hole in our lives in Fiji as far as conservation and Suva Harbour. But I just wanted to make an announcement while I'm on now that a group of us have got together, including Teddy and Stan, who are on this talk as well, that we're going to, I was part of the forming of the Suva Harbour Foundation, and Jonathan, as we've all talked about, Jonathan's been really passionate about Suva Harbour. And when I moved to Lillivia, I kind of took a back seat and said, oh, thank you. Jonathan's now the savior of Suva Harbour, and I can go to Lillivia and start my marine reserve out there and let him worry about it. But now he's gone. He's kind of left it up to us now. So we've decided that Suva Harbour Foundation will form a special campaign around Suva Harbour and name it the Jonathan Smith Campaign for Suva. So there's a small group of us that have got behind it, and we intend to maintain the legacy that Jonathan's left behind and do something positive for Suva. Hopefully, to a point that he can look down on us and say, "Oh, thank you, my friends, for carrying on my vision and for seeing it through to the end." So, Naka, just wanted to mention that at the beginning.
Thank you, Colin. Will that involve some sort of fundraising that might take place in the near future, or people coming together to share the load?
Yeah, I think that there were a lot of people that supported what Jonathan was trying to do with Suva, and we hope that those same people will get behind what we're trying to do, this vision for Suva. One of the things that Jonathan was really positive about was the good things about Suva. Not when we think of Suva, we think of a filthy harbor that no one wants to swim in, no one can enjoy. But Jonathan was always very positive about the good things around Suva, that it can become an attraction for tourists. It can be a place for our young people to enjoy and celebrate the ocean and to reconnect with the ocean again. So that's what we'd like to do, is to focus on the positive things around Suva, and maybe we can get, I'm pretty sure that we will get lots of support to do some positive changes for Suva.
Pinaka, Colin. Teddy, is this the way to remember Jonathan Smith? By picking up where he left off and taking him up on his challenge, that we each need to speak out about the environment and particularly about Suva.
Yeah, Vinaka Netani. Skipper's vision was for a clean and sustainable environment. He attached himself to campaigns, like the Suva campaign. The other one that I know of is more recently is the For Fiji Fish Smart campaign. He wasn't only talking about the need to let marine resources mature and reproduce before harvesting them, but he would go out on Saturdays, to buy undersized crabs and release them into his backyard, the Suva Harbor. He practiced what he preached in its true sense. Skipper made the Suva Harbor, his personal campaign. I am glad that Colin has announced the Captain Jonathan Smith campaign for the Suva Harbor. And I have jumped at the opportunity to assist with that. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite all of you who knew Skipper, to come together and let us all collectively realize his vision. And more importantly, by adopting his key traits, the traits that the women of the Vutalanaua voyage spoke about, being bold yet humble. Nakanitani.
Pinaka, bold and humble. Those two words don't often go together. Stan, bold and humble, Skipper was, and forthright.
And well, he was very straightforward, may I say. I mean, Skipper, to many people, he was a weatherman, environment. To me, he was a great friend, really. In the bottom line, we belonged to a group called the Garden City Swipers. Started there for a very long time. Our wives really dread that group, and Skipper, I mean, like Grog Swipers, we shared a bond, and it was the bond of those painful moments when the grog starts to become painful. And as we start to go into this deep abyss and think deeply about why we started to drink grog in the first place. And Skipper would call out Taki. And then as we painfully tried to, let the grog go down, he would tell us, sweet like a lemon. And that was his kind of attitude towards life. Like he would face everything head on. And really take himself to the limit of everything that he did. He was a very passionate person, very straightforward, very passionate about the ocean and the environment. He was one person who was not afraid to stand out and speak his mind. Even in the grog session, any small avenue, or it was around the grog session or in the newspaper, he put himself out on Facebook. Speaker was one person who never was afraid to stand out. He would put himself out there, even if it meant ridicule or getting told off by people who may have been more educated than him or more intellectual. Skipper would speak his mind, and no frills attached, nothing fancy. And sometimes he would really get himself into trouble because of that, and we'd laugh at him and ridicule. But Skipper didn't care. One thing that we knew to really make Skipper angry, we'd know that we'd make a joke about the environment, and he would not take it. If we start to say that, the undersized crabs taste sweet, because we knew the only way to get to Skipper, if he was attacking us, was to say something about the environment. He was a very caring person. The problem, I think, one of the issues, his great strength and one of his weaknesses, he always wanted to help everyone. He cared for everyone. I mean, if we were sitting, my wife remembers a moment on New Year's Eve, a water tank broke, and everyone said, just off the meter and let it be. But Skipper went to his, this at almost at midnight, we just announcing the countdown to the new year. He would go to this car, get the spanner, and try and fix the problem and try to make sure that it was fixed for the family for the next day. That was just the kind of person he was. And for Skipper, taking action was an important thing. He didn't wait for someone else to do it. He would say, come on, people, do this. But otherwise, he'll try and find a way to do it. I think there's a great headline in the papers where he talked about cleaning the Suva Harbor, and he said, if no one will do it, I will. So if Skipper saw the undersized crab and no fisheries officer was there to catch it he will bite. And then he'll have a conversation with the people who were there and tell them why the undersized crabs, why it was not a good idea to sell those undersized crabs. If someone was selling an endangered species of fish, Skipper would publicly embarrass them, post it up and says, this is not supposed to be bought. This is an important species. So he was not afraid to do that, to expose people. And he was always talking about personal responsibility when we come to the environment. And I wonder if Dylan and those in the backstage crew can play the clip number 6, where he talks about at the Reset Fiji last year, how he wanted people to take personal responsibility and move forward with his in conserving the environment.
Thank you, Stan. Let's see if we can watch that video.
Leave with you today is look after your own personal environment. That's what should be taught to everybody. Everyone in every village should be responsible for their own personal environment. Because all of this environmental damage and plastics and everything didn't come from the government or the Department of Environment. It came from us. Right? So education, I believe, is one of the most important things that we need to teach and keep on teaching, not just teach once and then leave it. Okay, so in order to have a clean and healthy environment, to supply us with an abundance of seafood and food and health and healthy air and not everything, we need to be personally responsible, each individual.
So, Netani, you wanna get someone else to say something, or you want me to carry on? Because I can go on all night till tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I think we all know that, Stan. I was going to ask though, is this how do we make people take the responsibility that Skipper wants them to take? And how do we get them to take a view on the environment and stand by it as he did? I'll go to you first and then I'll go to Colin.
Yeah, so I think I'd like to also just play another short clip. I think clip 5, if the crew can get it ready. Just the skipper was always a believer that anything that's done to the right, we can repair it. He kept telling us, look, we can fix that harbor. And none of us was, a few years ago, we were interested in many other things, not the Suva harbor, because, it just looked, we didn't want anything to do with it. But skipper kept going on and on about you can repair that harbor. And he took it very personally. And that was one thing about Skipper. He wasn't in part of any NGO, any movement. This was like almost the Skipper movement, like he did it himself, and then he would come and drink grog and tell people that, look, he did this, and you people should do it as well. But we were not into that at that time. But Skipper always felt that he'd been around a few places, and he always said that we can fix the environment. And if we can play clip 5 before you go on to Colin and Teddy, who will also have some good insights into this.
Over here, I got to purge my regulator while surfacing because, there's oil above me or rubbish or something that I need to clear before I surface. Otherwise, I just get coated in it. And, these are some of the things that I've been fighting personally. I don't belong to an NGO or a government department or anything. I just do it personally because it's my passion to get the harbor back to what it was before, get our seas back to what it was before. I've been out at sea from when I was a kid, fishing, diving, everything, so I know what stuff looks like before and after.
Colin, skipper movement. How do we get
Yeah, I like that skipper movement, Stan. It's a good one. Yeah, I think like Jonathan says in that reset video, it's all about education. It's about getting our young people behind a movement. I've always said that it's about reconnecting with nature. It's about getting kids to disconnect for a little while from their mobile phones and their computers and reconnect with nature. And I think that's the only way you can learn to love and to respect the environment and have a healthy relationship and want to do something positive for the environment. And as Jonathan said in that video, it's all about education. It needs to start in primary schools. It needs to start right from the lowest forms of formal education. And that's one thing that it is starting to happen, but it's not happening at a quick enough rate. And also a responsibility for all the parents that are watching tonight to take some time with their children and make them understand that we are all reliant on the environment around us, and we all need to do what we can to make it a better place for us to live in Naka.
Thank you. If I can pick up on something that Stan mentioned earlier, Teddy, Skipper said we can fix it. We can still fix this. You have a background in the science background in that. Well, how do we fix this? Apart from the education of our children and parents taking a greater role in teaching responsibility.
Yeah, thanks, Netani. Skipper was right. I mean, it can be fixed. Nature would fix itself if left alone for a while. But we know that, the Suva Harbor is dynamic. Boat traffic and, people going in and out of that harbor on a daily basis. So it will take brains being put together on how to achieve it. But yeah, I mean, Skipper was right. It can be fixed, and You know, Skipper, you know, he had achieved in the last decade or so, you know, as captain of the Utonialo, and then as an environment champion, and you know, I would call him an influencer. You know, the achievements that he made far exceeded what most of us in this field have achieved in many decades in terms of awareness. You know, he raised the issues and was very good at, you know, really airing them out. You know, I think Skipper's legacy can best be summed up by the fact that, you know, while most of us who have been in the conservation and environment field would struggle to get audiences with high-level government officials, you know, ministers and permanent secretaries would openly engage with Skipper on his Facebook posts. You know, such was his influence. He he brought people. I remember once, you know, he made an anti-mining post, and within an hour of the post, he messaged me and asked who the director of mineral resources was. When I asked him why, you know, he said, well, someone from his office called saying the director wants to meet with him. You know, I mean, that's the kind of audience that the influence that Skipper had. You know, Skipper would critique, you know, would critique a government decision on one post, and then the next thing we would see him launching a rubbish trap at the river with a senior government minister. And this was because Skipper was bold enough to hold everyone accountable, yet humble enough to support, you know, a campaign, an issue, if you were doing the right thing, you know. Such was the man.
Thank you, Teddy. Stan, do we need more people like Skipper in Fiji, and why?
Yeah, always Skipper always tried to get everyone on his side. I mean, he to him the message was almost spiritual about the environment. He would go on and on about it. I mean, apart from the dirty jokes and all the stuff that goes on in the session we involved in. I mean, Ted is laughing because he's been part of it for about 10 years. And Skipper would try to make friends and try and enlist everyone to his cause. And and everyone Skipper met, I'm sure he would try and tell them about this project, or why the crab should be here, why this fish should be left, should not be. I mean, my favorite fish is the parrotfish to eat, and he'll always be going on to me about how it's important for the corals and the sand. And I will just tell him, look, it's a nice curry. I'm having it on Sunday. You know? But Skipper, you know, was someone who he just kept on the message. He never. We need more people like him. I mean, look, for me, he just went too soon. I mean, he had so much more to give this country and to give everyone. That's why, I'm someone who's going to take his message seriously. And I don't think any kind of campaign would have got me to start to think the way I am, except, to see the message of my dear friend move forward. And it's a good message, you know. When you talk about the, and Skipper would fight with anybody. I mean, remember, there was one big public thing where he fought with one businessman who threw a rubbish when he was buying a walu. And, Skipper said that he almost whacked that businessman with the walu that he bought, you know. And I said, tell me, what about if that fella karate, you know, and that made him more angry. But, he was that person, like he actually found that businessman's workplace and put a lot more rubbish into that businessman's office space. When he talked about responsibility, I'd like if the crew can put together reset clip 7, where he talked about government's responsibility. He said that government also needs to step up in terms of how to enforce some of the rules and regulations that are in place. I mean, that was one thing that Skipper was very strong about. Thank you. Clip 7, please.
Thanks, Stan.
Active on discipline, because you can only educate so much. Take, for example, just we had an oil spill in Sydney Harbour. If anybody's been to Sydney Harbour, I was on a container ship. It was way back in the early 2000s, whatever. 20 liters of diesel spilled overboard, all right, into the Sydney Harbour. So now the chief engineer got fined 25,000 US dollars. The captain got fined 25,000 US dollars. The shipping company got fined like 100,000 US dollars just for 20 liters of diesel in the harbour, right? And we were banned from Sydney Harbour for 1 year. We weren't allowed back into Sydney Harbour for 1 year. So when you're looking at stuff like this, where government needs to come in, this is where they come in. This is revenue for them, because some companies, some people, they just take advantage of the lack of discipline, and they continue to, you know, pump oil out into the rivers and throw trash into the rivers without any care, because they know nothing's going to happen. Right, so government needs to be more stringent with discipline and fines, and really good fines, not dollars for a 5-ton oil spill kind of a thing and all these kind of things. You know, they keep saying $40 fine if you throw rubbish or if you spit, or all these kind of things, but you don't see anything coming out. There's no enforcement. You walk in the supermarket, there's nothing but undersized crabs and fish. There's no enforcement. Right, so I think for government, for their benefit in revenue, fines would be the only thing to work. Apart from that, of course, education, education, education.
Nathan, yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I was going to go to Colin and then come back to you. To the question here is, Fiji has all sorts of wonderful legislation brought down by over a couple of decades by different governments. What stops us from actually enforcing those legislations, and what can we do about it, Colin?
Yeah, I think that's the $6 million question. We've seen it go on way too long in our harbour. Just look at the amount of wrecks that are lying around, the amount of boats that are about to become wrecks. The next time there's going to be a storm, there's going to be more boats on the reef. So that, you know, that's a very good question, and it's one of the reasons why our harbour is in such a bad state, is that there's no enforcement at all. And there seems to be, you know, Suva Harbour did a little bit of research. There's a lot of legislation that overlaps. So you have one organization that is supposed to be responsible for example, oil spills, but then there's an overlap with another organization, no names mentioned, but then they're just passing the bucket. There's no one taking responsibility. So I think that's one of the things that this new campaign, that maybe we can help to find out what the actual legislation is and how we can support better monitoring. Naka.
Naka, Colin. Teddy, you have any ideas on how we can enforce these laws that have been enacted? I'd like to unmute Teddy.
Yeah, thank you. The laws have always been there. I mean, but I'd like to go back to one of Skipper's posts there. You know, the government can put up all the laws and, you know, try to enforce them. You know, I mean, we're limited in terms of resources, but you know, I would go with the Skipper's point in terms of more education. We need to change behaviors. I think that would be the better way to approach this than you know, really trying to force the laws without having the resources to do it.
And back to you, Stan. How do we enforce this? Is there a willingness to enforce this?
I think that the government needs to put more resources into this. I mean, we want to take, we're saying that climate change fight is a serious fight. We need to put the resources into it, ensure we have the manpower, ensure there's checks every Saturday, just like a skipper walking through the market every Saturday, you know, checking for undersized crabs. Not just here, but in all around Fiji. I mean, at one time, he was even messaging Tony Gumi. Tony Gumi, of all people, liaising with skipper to check what kind of fish was being sold in the Lambasa market just because he was concerned that some of the endangered species were being sold, like the Maori wrasse. And we would Skipper would get something wrong and we'd attack him and says, no, that's not the fish. But Skipper's heart was in the right place. So I think the legislation is there. We can fix it. He had a positive story at the Reset Fiji program last year about Somo Somo now, and I think if the crew can play that, I think that would be a good way to start to round up our discussion. But he talked about how what we do on the land affects what happens in the sea. You can't just clean the sea and not just don't have any work done on the land. It is very important, and the issues of pesticides, things like that, Skipper was very passionate about as well. So when he mentioned, I remember after the reset program, asking Skipper, you made a mistake. You talked about oil going into the rivers. You're supposed to have said sea, and he said, no, Stan. Fact of the matter is, a lot of the pollution happening in the harbor from all these factories that are just putting their drains, drain pipe and all the sewage not into anywhere else but down into the rivers that actually go out into the sea. So to skip, what you do on land was just as critical as going to clean the harbor. And you have to clean up the Suva harbor, we have to clean up on land as well. If you can play clip 2, please.
Stan, before we go to clip 2, can I ask what is a Maori wrasse in Sabu?
Man, you just caught me in the wrong time. I've forgotten the name.
Okay, we go to clip 2.
And Gramaxone and all these weed killers that did an amazing job. Everybody thought it was a wonder chemical that would kill off weeds and everything, right? Not realizing what it did for the marine environment. Okay, a short story in Ngau, in Somo Somo. When I first was used to sail to Somo Somo in Ngau, there was beautiful reef coral over there when you're coming into the bay in Somo Somo in Ngau. Then all of that ended up dying away. You had big algae blooms and lumi and all these kind of things. And I just happened to have a group of scientists on board. By the way, Sangita and I used to sail before too. So people in the likes of Dr. Mangubai, who used to sail with me and do all their reef research and everything. And one of them says, oh, they must be using something up on the land that's coming down into the ocean. And then they found out that it was, Gramaxone or paraquat or something. During heavy rain, it all got washed into the bay and it killed the reefs. And now the reefs have bounced back. So you can see the environment can actually repair itself. It's just up to us to actually help with that repair.
That's the message right there. That's why we call it the Varnivo, the Netani. But as you can see, his message was that the harbor can be repaired, but it's up to us to help it.
Nakastan, the question here from Mark Sobi for you grammar boys. What's the possibility of a volunteer harbor patrol? Colin?
Yeah, I think that's something that we would like to explore with the Suva Harbor campaign for, in honor of Jonathan. I saw in Palau when I visited a few years ago, they have a coastal patrol that is very successful in enforcement. And I think that's probably something that Suva Harbor needs is just some eyes on the ocean. And I think very importantly, what Stan brought up as well is everything that's happening around the harbor that on land that's flowing into the harbor is just as important. So we really need to, to enable us to fix Suva Harbor, we have to look at all the stormwater drains, all the streams and rivers that are flowing into the harbor as well, and what they're bringing into the harbor. Naka.
Naka, Colin. And thank you again, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. We've come to the end of this segment. Uh, one word to describe Skipper from each of you before we go to the next. Teddy, one word for Skipper. One word to describe Skipper.
It's hard to. Legendary. Skipper
Legendary.
was a legend.
Thank you. Colin, one word to describe Skipper for you. What he meant to you.
I think for me it would always be courageous for taking on the role of skipper very early on when we didn't know what was ahead of us, and yeah, he was very courageous for doing that.
Thank you. And Stan, for once you get the last word on Skipper. He probably never gave you a chance. What was it, sir?
Him sexy.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your contributions this evening, your tributes to Jonathan Smith, Captain Jonathan Smith, skipper. And best of luck with the fight to save Suva Harbor. We'll go now to tributes from the crew, a short video before we go to an entertainment to bring our program towards its end. So a short video of tributes from the crew to Captain Jonathan Smith.
To have someone like Skipper who, I mean, we weren't treated special. We had to do everything that a man did. You know, we may not have been strong, but we were expected to do everything. So I think we were fortunate in that way. You know, we became watch captains, and just his personality, you know, there were no grudges. You know, if you did something wrong, it was corrected and you moved on. It's so important to have, you know, someone with that personality. And Skipper had that. So I think we were fortunate to be able to do such a long voyage and have a leader like that. Unfortunate that more women, more sailors won't be able to experience that, and we were the lucky ones.
I'll just share a moment, just the simple things with Skipper. We meet in the street or during a conversation, he always asks, "How's it, bro? How's it going?" I said, "Oh, all good." "So, how's your art coming?" I said, "All good." You know, but remembering him, yeah, it really touches us in the core. But you know, that word that he used to say, you know, go for it. You know, you can do it. Go for it. That was a very encouraging word from him. And every time we meet in town, "How's it going? How's it going?" I said, "Good, moving slowly." And he usually say, "You know, you can do it, go for it, and just do it." So that's the kind of person he is, you know. He's not fearless, very fearless guy. But I'm thankful for, you know, his life. So this my take on him. Very simple, encouraging words that I will always never forget. And yes, hopefully it inspires all of us and inspires where we're heading to the new wind. Naka.
Wow, there's so many stories about Skipper, so many funny ones. But like his heart is one thing. Like with Skipper, and he really had a big heart. Like, and he said, like, if he believed in you, he actually made you believe in yourself. Like, he actually made me believe, like, I can do it. Like, he's like, don't worry, you just study it and just don't think too much about it. Because like for the like the training side, I was already fit because I was already in the Fiji team for hockey. So, but like with skipper's side, like he was also strict. Like, and that's what I really loved about him as well. Like he was your friend outside. Like when he would be your friend outside of the classes or like off the uto, he would be your friend and he would be your family. But like when he was skipper, he would be skipper. Like everyone was like, okay, that's skippers, don't touch it, you know? Like everyone would respect him, and just like everybody respected Colin. Like, but he taught us so much. And like even the other, like last 2018, I started picking up like he taught us how to splice. One day I posted on my story and skipper said, "Wait, where did you get your feeds from?" I said, "Wait, I ordered online. Why?" I said, "Can you order mine? I'm gonna give you some money for it." I said, "See, this is a plan. I know how to splice the small ropes, but I don't know how to splice the big ones. So my Ashton's deal is, if I give you the feed, if I order the feed for you, you're gonna teach me how to splice." Fala said, "Yeah, okay, set deal." He messaged me, "Hey Lee, thanks so much for the feeds. I got it. I owe you one." I was like, "Sayang gonna owe me one." The Fala said, "Convada this kind of deal." She still owes me. He's a skipper, but yeah, no, he was really like he taught us so much, and I literally like I am here today because he's one of the few people, and Colin as well, like that made me believe in like myself that I can do anything, literally, and like that Temana voyage literally taught us that even if you're thrown in the deep end or what, like you can do anything if you set your mind to it, like for real, and I'm just grateful.
Yeah, before the Uto left for Vanuatu on the Moor voyage, there was a registration of the Uto and there was visas that was an issue. So we got to know the New Zealand High Commissioner really well at the time, and he said to us, "Oh, don't worry, we'll sort out the visas. They'll be waiting for you when you arrive." But then the registration was an issue, and typical Jonathan, I mean, he had a very good relationship with MSF. So we put his name on the Utanialo's registry and it got approved, but it got approved about 4 or 5 hours after the Uta had set sail, because they were in a fleet of 4. You know, they left from Lodala Bay. We took a boat out from Lami and went out to sea, and we were in radio contact with Angelo, and we passed over the MSAF registration papers out at sea. So yeah, that was cut and go. Yeah, we were really fortunate. I think having Jonathan's name on the registry really helped us get our MSAF registration papers very smoothly, although a few hours late.
Aka na dango ivanensi munikura au nganelani bioni ngalo mibiti au basu isap-sap. Donga na talo lelai blati skipa orani wasia. Sama umondi na ni maitakali toka ni na ndona bula yanga. E lolo si obiti na nona samai ngol toka yani. Wakila ini atau besar tengah na Pasifika biasa ibur-bura nonra wase bacu kumai na lulus bat kirtu na vitinani. Yo mai kalunga cara ni rani mai dua nona kru na mai aso kata kimirika le besar naka o buli da mai bua le betala naka e ba buli da mai bi kimai minala kucuya. Balata juga na kina tangko makini wasa-wasa, tangko makini banua, tangko makini ni nanda yaumbula, bakakina na nanda traditional cultures dari toko ni toko buana ya da ba balangi o koe ne mem do lak to ke andor kana nan do sanga mi ki mami le suva chuko na bunwa dalak mikina o koe ababuli dia una soko balachi koe orani tukuna ande ni autara chukungo na mbalavu ni soko ina traditional kanu ina wasa Pasifika bir na ngone leo simber ni takalian yo naturanga na skipa kito abital no chuku bina zoom bina utini alo platform atal no taksar chuku naturang na skipa no na sa tuguna ni sa via give up no na wabuli dia chiku betea na nandrendre no na sanga chiku me wabuli dia yo ukila asianga ni ochikina yo tonga no na vitauri wabi bina kabir trono na matu bali ni rani kito mai wasis kipa bata chico me ke mai mi bula voli bata leuna ka bitu tu mai na bondrendre me nagi kunetale dona Jonathan Smith na ka wabuli tu mai viti okoya ndora tamata that kena pertania he walked the talk la sianga walenga ni tukuna daka talanga yanga ndonga na vewa sile sara kilani sier tululu si chukun tu matu vale kilani ko talanga na birthday skipa happy birthday and I think it's your day 9 out to in the ocean Ceylon dia skipa.
Well, everyone, just wanted to do a short tribute to Skipper. Real honor sailing and learning under his guidance. Truly gonna miss the guy. I mean, he really taught me well. And other people too. I know a lot of people learn from him. But he was always a very helpful guy. And really gonna miss him. It is what it is. Still find it hard that he's gone. Like I said, it is what it is. We just gotta move on and just cherish all the good moments we had with him. And all I can say is it was a real great honor learning under his guidance and leadership. He has taught me very well. I've learned a lot from him, even though I used to get all the FFS, but deep inside the guy had a big heart, and every time I used to get that FFS, later on the guy used to come and tell me that when I'm swearing at you guys, or swearing at you, growling at you guys, doesn't mean that I hate you, gang. I'm trying to teach you, gang, and it is true. It is true. And it is a great honor. That's all I can say. It was a great honor learning under his guidance and leadership. Really gonna miss the guy. But just think of all the good memories we had with him, and that's about it.
Yo, bula binaka. pe wasianga mpalele memba na una soko patikine kay skipa na best memory mpianga patiki skipa ya nangon santo matini kina ngunyanggon santo laku tuna ngunyanggon sa matini sanda laku tuna singinding santo itu santo lapi na ukalele po na ukalele ni tahiti ko ndoko to awu kuchi santo lapi nga na ukalele mesangirita bango indalana mechunta kendalengan asa kumbe sarang wasi ante kla kato skipa besi memori patiki skipa kena sires una sires mbao patiki skipa kon itu saya doi Solomon Uchimena Pacific Festival Kito laku mais tapunton rekida chame paru chugo I Wanderby kilabna chugo Alice patiki iba Teddy kortana ngai puni waite ko ne kito laku mais alele chuna kakan laku mai kele kena matakala kim sayang rasa ko angkas sasa maki sing-singan sa kadi sar moskipa peni come let's go we go and catch one sanga and two parrot fish kutungala serious artunga ko na tuguna singa tabu na singa konero lo kale nunu kona le nunu ya gele mawoki na lingangu se coach ngango sendondo mutu asing era ni ve malumu ya rawo kongona lunu sara me wan rebengo nunu en singa tampu ngemele bunyi waita kino tedi na lingangu wanon na magic box kalilai watekeina no na visio na kai visio da motivate ke umble skip na singe kena teke buna voyage na lele buni kuru satu ngai kwa pick teke au teke angel na ngona ke to sami biki na ko ngai kadibi kero me ke angel matai ni katu na be kero skip ko bosa ta teke ro hey itu kamia fuck you too fuck your father you two not supposed to be here it's me I make you to be here Kona bosa tau bekera ya siang talini tuba sukuna vava ngai tukuna si motivate kera ura takata ngai na puli la ko batana takata na puli meski bateke na dono na tatau tungo ski pa bege to tukun to komplet na kani conservation o garab maro tango makanu mingoli na ngai tango magi kuno mingoli dono tu si look after your ngoli ngona look after you kai vida na kala la yo veo siambele skipa na sini kuah nutaka ninda na ngoma no na samela ko skipa yo kasa sulebe kendo skipa enda na matevata na pinaka
Skipper Jonathan was and will always be an icon for the voyaging community. I know that every Utonialo voyager can call themselves one because Skipper took a chance all those years ago and paved the way for the rest of us to come through. Sending so much love and prayers to Mavis and the family. And I know all of us that can't be there right now wish we could be. But either way, grateful for you, Skipper. I hope the winds are always at your back and we'll be having a mix for you here in Japan.
You were on it. There's so many things that I'll miss about you, but I think that you've done a good job leaving a legacy here on this side of the earth, and I hope to see you or feel you and your presence, you and Masamusio and Ninja and a few that special people that we lost each time I visit the sea, because I know you're there exploring one corner or another. It's farewell, Skipper, but only for now. Sending big love to your family, the Lomas to the whole crew, and Hanisif. Thank you, everyone.
Bolvana
Kanaka. My name is Benjamin Sobi. I knew Jonathan during my school days. He used to come down to Nosori for school holiday, so that's where we met, and we became friends. I happened to cross paths with him again when I was given the opportunity to jump on board the liveaboard dive boat Naya. I did about 6.5 years on the Naya with Jonathan. We sailed all around the South Pacific, diving, doing research, underwater conservation with NIWA and with National Geographic from the States. Yeah, we had a lot of good memories, a lot of funny ones. I was still on board the Naya when Jonathan got off, and he jumped onto the Utunialo, and our boat Naya had a trip down to Tonga for whale watching, and I took the trip off. So I was back home playing hockey, and a good friend of mine, Sam Ayuk, passed away, so we went for his funeral, and he just happens to live in Lemmy opposite Skipper. So when I was there, I crossed paths with Jonathan, and we sat down, had a chat, and then he asked me if I was interested in joining Tonialo. I had no idea. I've seen Uto on the news. I really had no idea what they were doing, and I had a conversation with Jonathan, and yeah, it was interesting. And I resigned from Naya, joined the Uto with Jonathan, and was fortunate enough to be part of the Temano Temwana voyage. We did the whole trip, and yeah, it was, for me, it was a big eye-opener to get to travel to places where I never dreamt that I was going to travel to. Yeah, I'm still trying to get my head around Skipper being gone. Yeah, and he was a really big influence in my life. Always telling me, always reminding me what to do and what not to do. Yeah, it was a privilege sailing with him. I was sad that I couldn't make it to the funeral due to the circumstances that we are in at the moment. If the borders were open, I would have been there. To all the crew back home, valuable for everything that you guys did. To the Tunialo crew, Colin and Leanne, Seta, all you guys back home, Loma, valuable. Hope we were there, but we were there in spirit. Due to this pandemic, it's hope that all of crew and family back home are safe. Mavis and the kids, prayers are with you. It was a privilege knowing Jonathan, and Vinakawalevu to everybody. Thank you very much, Skipper. Rest in peace.
Once again, we thank the crew for their wonderful memories that they've shared with us this evening as tributes to Jonathan Smith. And we thank you all, the viewers who have shared your memories, your experiences, your tributes. These will all be available on our Facebook and YouTube pages for you to see and to share and to continue to remember Skipper by. As we've heard this evening, Skipper was a mentor. He was a brilliant teacher, a caring captain, someone young people on board the Uto could look up to. And this evening, for the final, second to last tribute, we're going to ask Liliata Sokai, a crew member, volunteer crew member on the Utinialo, someone who's been mentored by this wonderful friend, to share a tribute in song. Liliata Sokai.
Hello everybody, my name is Liliata Sokai. I'll be singing a song tonight for you. The song I'm singing is an old folk song, and it's one about being far away from home, and I hope you guys enjoy. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two, Lord, I'm three, Lord, I'm four, Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. Not a shirt on my back, not a penny to my name. Lord, I can't go back home this old way. This old way, this old way, this old way, this old way. Lord, I can't go back home this old way. If you miss the train I'm on, you'll know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Thank you.
Thank you, Liliata, for that beautiful tribute. No tribute to Skipper would be complete without a few words from his family, and this evening we've asked his wife Mavis and son Tristan to share a little bit about Skipper before we end the program.
Hello everyone, my name is Tristan Smith. I'm the eldest son of the late Captain Jonathan Smith.
And I'm Mavis Smith, the wife of the late Jonathan Smith.
On behalf of the Smith family, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude towards everyone who have sent tributes and those who have contributed to the happiness of Dad's life. We will continue to honor Dad's legacy as an advocate of the sea and environment, as that was what he was most passionate about.
We appreciate all those who have reached out to us with words of positivity and love, and those who have shared their stories of having my husband as part of their lives. From the Smith family, thank you all again for your love and support. Vinaka.
I'm sure it's a family we all reach out to Mavis and Tristan and the family this evening to say thank you. Thank you for sharing Skipper with us, allowing him to be part of our lives. To bring this evening's tribute to a close, we invite the chaplain of the Utinalo, Reverend James Bagwan, to end this session with a prayer. Reverend James Bagwan.
Naka Netani, and thank you everyone who has been a part of this this tribute program tonight, to all those who spoke and shared, those who sent their messages, to the crew behind the scenes, Matalita and Dylan and everyone who's been there. Today, just before I say a prayer, let me just share that today some of Skipper's old crew who now sail the Drur Experience, Naivola Singavo, we sailed out of the harbor to where a week ago we laid Skipper to rest in the ocean deep. And we stopped out there to celebrate his birthday, to place some flowers in the ocean, say a prayer, to wish him happy birthday, and in Utonialo tradition, jump in and have a swim as well, just in case he wanted to take one of us down to keep him company and tucky his grog. As Natani said, when we begin a voyage, we stand on the deck and we hold hands, connecting ourselves to Mama Uto, to the sea, to each other, and to the divine for guidance, for patience, for protection, and for fair winds. And when we reach our destination, we sit down or we kneel after our debrief and we give thanks. So in your hearts, as we pray, feel the heart of the Spirit, the Utonialo, that connects us all with Skipper, with crew past, present, and future, with family, and above all, with the ocean. Mendamasu, let us pray. Take, but are full, O Lord. Our sails are filled with your Spirit. Our canoes have joined together in this talanoa of heart and soul. We thank you for this time together. And as we set sail now on our own voyages of life, help us to maintain our course, that we may voyage together, that we may guide and support one another. Remind us in good and bad times, in fair weather and in rough weather, to support and care for each other. Help us, O Lord, to see the course that you have set for us. Renew in us the gift of discernment, so that we can see the right direction in which we should go. Give us the strength and the courage to choose the right course, even when the sea is rough and the waves are high, knowing that through enduring hardship and danger, with Christ as our mast and our master, we shall find comfort and peace. We shall reach the lagoon to which you call us. We thank you for your servant Jonathan, whom you have taken from the sea and placed in the stars. You endowed Skipper with a bold and adventurous spirit to champion your creation on the great waters and revealed to him the wonders of the deep. Bless his family, his loved ones, and those touched by his life and work. Strengthen and comfort Mavis and Tristan and Jerick, Carter and Shola. Bless our voyaging family. Make us, we who recall with thanksgiving Skipper's life and vision, zealous to embrace and continue his legacy. And may your grace, peace, and light be with us always. Amen.
Amen. We thank you once again for joining us this evening to pay tribute and to celebrate the life of Captain Jonathan Smith. Your tributes will remain on the Utunialo Facebook and YouTube pages. You can continue to contribute there. We thank MyTV for the wonderful support this evening, and to all our panelists and contributors for taking part in this program. Remember that we are each responsible for the land and the sea, as Skipper would often remind people. And in his immortal words, when it comes to looking after the environment, if no one will, I will. Thank you and good night.